I can almost guarantee that next leg day, in just a couple of days, I'm gonna have to chill on quads. It's gonna have to be a hamstring focused one because they are wrecked. Now, of course, I did push it extra hard with the squats and the leg press, or the Smith squats and the leg press, but either way, yeah, I think I'll just kind of start that rotation of quad day, or heavy quad day, and then more just kind of pump focused quad day, back and forth like that. But for back, I can thrash it on schedule. Right? No need for a light one and a heavy one, unless for whatever reason I feel something a little off. Assuming I walk in here today and when I'm warming up on the cables, doing some curls, doing some light pullovers, doing some light rows of a couple angles, as long as everything feels good, I've got no reason to believe that picking a weight which I can only do 10 reps of plus maybe a few partials would have anything negative to do with my gains at all. If anything, I would argue it's probably going to be rather freaking beneficial. But yeah, simpler lift. Going a little earlier today. It's only 10:30. Can you freaking believe it? But that's kind of good for me. I think the earlier lifts do me a bit better because when I can fall asleep after I've had like a full, even 2 scoops of pre, like late. Like if I had a lift at 9, fully amped out of my mind, well, within reason, of course. Finish it, come home, eat something, pass out. That's cool. Right? Like I fall asleep just fine. But the adenosine or whatever kind of the effects the caffeine ends up having, which actually gives it its like energizing effects, those definitely do mess with your REM, right? With your actual REM sleep. So it's like, even though I can fall asleep, am I really getting the most recovery-inducing rest? Right? So I'm going to try to get these lifts done a little bit earlier so that I'm not extra caffeinated right before bed. Now I'm not so into the whole tune of things where I'm gonna say, all right, I'm not gonna eat a meal for 4 hours before I go to bed. I've never really noticed anything for me that made me think eating right before bed was messing with me. But the logic that guys will always say is like, well, if you eat a meal right before you go to bed, you might fall asleep, but you're not really resting because your muscles are, your digestion is really working hard to break down that food. And I mean, I kind of see the logic, but from my anecdotal experience, I've eaten big ass bowls of freaking everything you can imagine, gone straight to bed, and woke up feeling like a beast. And in a bulking context, I mean, I want my eating window to be as wide as it can be so that I don't feel like I'm like forcing food down from like 9 o'clock until 6 o'clock and not making use of that extended time afterward, because right now, hitting 3,300 calories or so, it's not that hard. I mean, my breakfast this morning of the eggs, toast with butter and everything, like that was 1,000-calorie meal, so 3 of those a day. I mean, it's not too tricky. But as this bulk progresses, as these months pass and I start eating more food, or if you know somebody who's maybe a little bit, let me think, what's the word I'm trying to imagine here. Maybe, well, let's just say they're not necessarily the bulking sort, and he's trying to put some mass on his frame, then, you just gotta freaking chow down, no matter what time it is. Now, of course, don't stay up too late eating, because then you're messing with your sleep schedule, but I think we get the gist there. But either way, plan for back, rows, pull downs, and pullovers, the same as normal, but I'm going to try to do it maybe opposite of how I did the last back day. I think my last back day started with pullovers, and then I moved on to rows, and then I moved on to pull downs, and there was like a superset kind of finisher at the end. So I think for this one, maybe I'll start with a row. Then, well, we'll see. But gym should be reasonably empty, so I hope I won't have to worry about having to pick and choose based on what machines are actually open. But again, 252 this morning, so no big jumps yet, of course, but a gradual trend will begin to form. That's going to take a little time, so I'm not in too much of a rush there. But I think no more talking about it. Just gonna make this back day happen. Haven't done bent over dumbbell rows for a while. So the 110, it's heavy enough and I'm gonna feel it. And I really want to have like a hold at the top. Like these are not gonna be a nasty set of rows. Those might be for later with, you know, cables or machines or something. Come on. Oh my god. No, okay, it's good. No. No. Oh, yeah. Oh. One or two more, I think. That feels pretty good. Oh. Okay. Yeah, one more after this. Yeah. Okay. One more. That feels really good. Total contrast to how the last back day started. Anyway. Oh, goodness. Okay. Oh, goodness. Oh, man. All right, I think that satisfies at least a good chunk of my rowing portion. Oh, yeah. Let's do some pullovers. Let's do a alternating style for this one. Actually, I'll go a little heavier too. I might make this one a little less squeezing focused. Maybe a little more pumpish. Oh. Oh. No. No. One more. Okay. Oh man. One more like that'll be good. No. No. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Holy crap. Oh, yeah. I think some pull downs. Well, honestly, no, I'm not totally sure, but may be the last set I need. Or 2 sets, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm definitely further.
Attention YMC is now approximately 11:45.
Whatever. Let's make this moderately heavy, not too fast and not too slow set. Really just kind of go hard in a standard fashion. Okay. I'm not done. I'm just gonna make this a rest pause. One more of those. And then I think back is done. Okay. All right, 5 more. Okay. Oh, that's all. Holy crap. Oh. Let's pose down, man. All right. Right here is as decent a spot to pose down as any. Plus, you come in a little earlier, empty in here. So I don't have to scramble down to the lower level to pose down in those little yoga rooms. And go right in here. And of course, you know, go shirtless at your own discretion. Obviously, you know your own gym's rules and regulations a little better than I would. So, don't do anything too crazy. Get yourself kicked out. But let's see how we're looking. Boy. Oh my gosh. Well, needless to say, feeling rather freaking pumped. Oh. And since this was an earlier lift, haven't had so many meals, so my stomach is just physically emptier than if I were to work out, 6 or so hours from now. So a little bit of a buffed aesthetics stats by not having a really, full belly. But in a bulking context, that's just part of the game, man. Don't be afraid of feeling a little thicker in the midsection. That just means you get extra fuel being worked on and absorbed to increase the size of everything else surrounding you. And that's kind of the whole freaking point. But for you, let's get in the car. What am I saying? Yeah, for me, let's get in the car too. We're all done. All right. When it comes to success in the endeavor of this style of physical training, right? Pretty much just, I mean, in a sense, you could almost call it I do, kind of just, regular ass physical fitness taken to like a kind of an extreme degree, right? But in terms of just the muscle growth and the strength and size gain, right, in that pursuit, it's kind of low stakes, which I don't necessarily mind. Looking back at all the things I've done, sports-wise and everything, the stakes were kind of high, right? Whenever you're actually competing, it's like, all right, pressure's on now. Like back when I was doing the diving, you practice as much as you want, you can get as good at it, but it's more of a skill, It's, you can totally just flop your dive and you get a whole pool in front of you, totally silent, and you land flat on your stomach because you had like a misstep or some kind of whatever. Not cool, right? I've definitely been there before. But with the fitness and just like the working out and going hard like that, like it's there's not really so much pressure, right? You're never in a sense where it's like, okay, if I don't hit this set perfectly, then all my gains are out the window and I'm screwed. It's never that serious. The pressure is or the stakes are a little bit wider, right? They're longer spread. It's more like a long project. It's more like a long project or whatever, all right? And if you want to get good at it, you're never going to suddenly double your skill or double your progress on one day to the next. It's just not how it freaking works, right? You can have some eureka moments, like the first time I was lifting in my basement gym at my parents' house back in high school. I'm doing a chest day, and I could actually feel like my pecs really activate, like more than normal, to the point where instead of pushing the bar with my hands, like I actually felt like I was almost pulling my arm forward with my chest. Like there are moments like that, but for the most part, it's just, kind of a slow grind, right? Steadily chipping away, steadily kind of sawing or digging or anything else. And it's like, it's more of just maintaining a constant momentum. And that momentum does not have to be freaking, max speed. Just making sure that on the regular you're pushing it. And the fact that, the average baseline for not just people, but like for your body in general to stay where it's at progress wise, just kind of, stay the same size. The difference between that and making marginal gains, marginal improvements, it's not huge. It actually is only a little bit of a percentage difference, right? Somebody could eat 3,000 or 2,500 calories a day and stay the same size, not grow at all. And then, alternate universe, you totally clone them. You give that same dude 2,750 for a period of I don't know how many months or whatever, and guess what? He's going to start growing. That's literally only a 10% difference in calorie intake, not even changing anything about the training or anything about the consistency or the diet or the recovery. Just increasing that one variable, the food intake, can push that guy into progress and give him some damn gains, you know? So it really is kind of a simple endeavor. It's not an easy endeavor because you got to kind of constantly be on it if that's what you want to do. But you know, it's not rocket science here. It's not like there's some magic technique that you have to completely perfect, you know, like a golf swing or a damn pitch, or, you know, shooting a damn million free throws to make sure you can actually hit them on game day. It's just kind of making sure you're constantly pushing it into the realm of uncomfortability. And sometimes I'm a little bit, I almost feel a little like imposterish when I'm saying this stuff, you know, because it's like, even if you don't feel like it, get after it. You know, even if you don't feel like grinding, man, just deal with it. You know, that sort of shit. But it's like, that's not really how I go about it, you know, because I'm insanely freaking spoiled, because the working out on its own, like just the process of coming to the gym and doing like a sweet back day like that, which for some might feel like a total grind because they don't really love the gym yet. Even from day one, that was just like my shit, you know? So it's like the work that we talk about, where it's like, you know, you got to come into you got to earn your stripes, man. You got to clock hours, and like, that's the fun part, you know? So it's almost as though I kind of lucked out in the sense that this is something which I do want results from, but I also simply enjoy the act of doing it for its own sake, you know? So it's like I'm kind of getting hit from all angles in a positive way, because I like the process of making gains, and I like the gains that process has given me too. So it's like it's like I got a double-edged sword in a good way, like a double-sided shield almost. Maybe that's a little bit too funky of a reference, but whatever. So it's like, if you can kind of begin to rewire your brain to enjoy the process of doing something, then the question of like, okay, am I going to get better at this thing? It's not even freaking real, because you simply will by doing it, you know? And that's not something that can, like, or at least not for me. I can't just like teach that. Like I can't just say a couple sentences and magically have somebody say, holy crap, I want to go to the gym right freaking now. You know, it's like, it's not a guaranteed kind of thing. You know, you can lead the lifter to the cardio bike, you can't make him pedal. So it's kind of just a question of your own sort of internal desires, right? Like, this is there's a lot of ways to think about everything, but this is kind of something I end up sort of resorting back to. Like, you know, everybody's actions on kind of a day-to-day basis, it's just the results of this equation right here. Your wants and your don't wants. And what these add up to ends up to, you know, what you actually do. It's like, all right, I want my room to be clean. I like when my room is clean. I like how orderly it is. It kind of just looks nice. Like, just, you know, I'm kind of exerted control over my own small portion of the world, keeping it in order. It just makes you feel good. But I don't really want to get off my phone. And then whichever one is stronger ends up being what actually freaking happens, you know? So when it comes to the gains, this is kind of just like a fancy way of saying everybody want to be a bodybuilder, but don't nobody want to lift no heavy ass weights. It's like, yeah, man, I think everybody would push a button for instant gains. I know I freaking would. But when you add the extra details of, all right, well, you can have those gains. You can have, like, in a sense, whatever kind of degree of gains you really want. But everything that goes along with it is, you know, part of that deal too. You know, so it's almost like the it's kind of monkey paws-ish, right? Like, you get your wish, but there's also a drawback. So for me, at least, the drawback of getting bigger, which is the fact that you kind of have to deal with the training of everything else, that's not a drawback at all. That's the freaking fun part, you know, actually exerting yourself physically. I mean, it's, so for me at least, if I could give you any kind of tip, it would be to try to rewire yourself to be as positive as you can be about the training. Make sure that you enjoy it, such that you get to a point where you don't feel like you have to go lift, or like, oh geez, Haven't lifted yet. Better go to the gym. I was just... That's not how I think about it at all. But that's not for me to tell you, right? That's kind of for you to discover on your own. And shit, man, maybe the gym isn't your thing. I think that for me at least, the gym overlaps two necessities that I feel I have in life: physical activity, which everybody should have a necessity for, like just being reasonably active to the point that you can move your own body around pretty well, exert some force on the world, pick up some heavy shit. I mean, you're just more well equipped to handle life, So I think everybody being in reasonable shape, or at least approaching reasonable shape, that's up there, right? That is most certainly a quality of life improver. And that doesn't mean becoming a 260-pound freak. I'm talking just like being in good shape. Like, that's freaking awesome, But you also need something which you're excited about, is unrelated to regular work or anything else, like something which you're pursuing and that you enjoy doing purely for its own sake, not for what you get out of it, not for who you can hover it over and just no, man. Everybody has something like that, or at least everybody can have something like that. And if you don't, from my perspective, I feel like you just haven't found it. So start looking around. Don't feel weird if you end up hyper fixating over some random kind of little detailed something or other. I mean, everybody who really dives into anything 100% in the beginning, before they've gotten really good at it, they might kind of seem like a nutcase, right? I mean, I know I did with the lifting to my family in the beginning. It's like I'm eating freaking cans of sardines and mason jars full of egg whites. I'm a 160-pound dude. I got to I've got a bunch of old pictures from when I was starting working out. Oh man, yeah, I jumped in. There was no dipping a toe in. It was 100% off the rip, right? So in the beginning, I'm taking myself all serious. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm a damn hardcore lifter. I'm a 165-pound dude, So it's like the amount that I was kind of immersing myself into the gym wasn't reflected by the results that I had yet. But even back then, starting out, that never bothered me, because it's not necessarily about where you are specifically in the totem pole of progress, because everybody climbs it, So anybody who's a little bit ahead of you, I'd say 99% of the time, it's simply because they've been doing it for longer than you, So that's where I kind of like the climb. I've always been more concerned with just making sure that I'm on track positively. Because like I said a second ago, it's not a question of if. Even as a 160-pounder, there was no question of if I was going to be able to keep making gains. It was always simply all right, I wonder how long this is really going to take. Well, I guess we'll find out, So that's kind of my thought process there. So if you don't have a little something that you can wake up excited to do in your day, or go to sleep and kind of reflect oh yeah, that was a really good freaking leg day. Holy crap. Or just anything like that. Try to find it. Because that's the fun part, That is most certainly the fun part. I can tell even now, I mean, I'm going to look back over all of this, kind of progression and everything, and all the expos and the competitions, but that's only a tiny detail of what this has all been about for me. That's less than 1% of the amount of time I've spent on just this whole lifting thing in general. 99 point freaking probably 9 or 8% has just been these regular ass lifts, for the most part kind of solo. I mean, sometimes I've got some boys in the gym with me, which turns it into at least a little bit of a social hour, which is kind of fun. But don't forget, you still gotta freaking get your lift done, right? It's put your own oxygen mask on before helping others, in the sense of, if you're lifting and you got a whole crew around you, don't let yourself get distracted from absolutely killing your sets. And then, if you got a couple minutes rest between leg press, goofing off can be within reason, right? Just don't take it too far. I mean, we've all seen the groups of dudes lifting together where it's the whole group might do one set every 4 minutes. And at the end of it, I know none of these guys are actually fully pumped. It's, well, hopefully that's not you, right? Make sure you get your shit done for sure. But I think that's all I got. plan for tomorrow, gonna go crazy with arms. Not exactly sure what gym I'll go to, but I know it'll be a good lift for sure. And then I'm not sure. I might take a rest day after that. I'm not anti-rest day. Don't worry. And if I can tell that my legs are still a little tender from the last leg day, and they're still a little sore, a little compromised, then it wouldn't make any sense to go to the gym and do a leg day while they're still sore from the last one. You know, that's kind of counterintuitive. So if they're still a little tender, I'll make it a rest day. Still cardio, of course, but just not so strenuous. That's a full-on leg day. And that one day of rest will mean the next day I can come back even stronger, go even crazier, right? So we're still working up to max speed. It's like I'm approaching the event horizon of my kind of strength and intensity. Because I mean, I've been on track of like almost 5 months straight of lighter, squeezing lifts, which for the purpose of dieting down is kind of all I need, right? I don't need to hurt myself. I just need to maintain the muscle I've already built. So now that I got some extra food in my system, big, strong, pumped. That's what I'm freaking aiming for. So I will continue to keep you updated as the weight progresses. But you know how it is. Slow and steady. Slow and freaking steady. So I'll see you tomorrow for a guaranteed arm day. And after that, well, we'll just have to freaking see.